But we appreciate the time that you come. We thought we'd come a little bit down off the mountain to make it a little bit easier for our media coverage. What we want to do is we're going to have 4 speakers, and everyone will be available for a little Q&A once all 4 have spoken. So if you can hold your questions until the very end. So our first speaker is going to be Councilmember Phil Smith.
Good morning, everybody. This has been a long haul, no pun intended here. We started this journey in the year 2000. Caltrans identified that the State Route 58, there was a need for truck climbing lanes. They identified it 23 years ago. And last week, the California Transportation Commission authorized $257 million for this area. 165,000 of that, $165 million for a rehab project that's been in the works, and it's been combined now. The truck climbing lanes is going to get $91 million to do segment 2. So this has been a long time in the making, over 20 years. Funding now leads us to where we can now say we're going to design and go to construction. Over the past few years, it's been, okay, we have a project, we talk about it, they research it to death, and now we're finally at the point where we're going to build this. And we've all up here at least waited for a long, long time. We see it. 58 is the second heaviest truck route in the state. And it's 25% more trucks on this route than in the I-80. So you've got California, the 4th largest economy in the world, and it's got its freight movement and all of this traffic here coming up to 58. So you can see how significant this is. Not just a local road, it's a highway still, but it's not an interstate, but it carries the freight of the nation from California. So we're going to go with 3.5 miles on this segment, from east of us here down to around the Caliente cutoff. And so this will address, first and foremost, it's going to address safety with the crowding of the trucks and the lane changes and the speed differentials going from people at 70 plus down to 30 miles an hour behind trucks that are passing. This is a very significant mitigation for safety. It's going to improve environmental air quality. It's going to have wildlife crossings addressed throughout this area, which is huge for this 72,000 acre natural Tehachapi. The Nature Conservancy is where you're standing on, which is divided by this freeway right here. So it goes. So my special thanks, first the California Transportation Commission. Special thanks to California State Senator Shannon Grove. We've been in talks, we've been in, like I said, discussions over the years. We recently this year had a Zoom conference with all players for Caltrans, the director, and Shannon Grove was in attendance by Zoom with all of us. She put us over the top. She's the one that we just needed that last drive, and she did it. And we have so much thanks for Shannon. We have thanks for our Caltrans director, Tony Tavares, which we met last week. Caltrans Director 9, District Director, Ryan Dermody. My special thanks to Kern COG Executive Director, Ahron Hakimi, who's been the driving force for this region, and Kern Council of Governments couldn't have done it without him. He knows the ins and outs of how these things get progressed and funded, and we could not have done it without you, Ahron. We really sincerely appreciate everything you've done. And then City Manager Greg Garrett, and then Jay Schlosser, our Development Services Director, which you'll hear from. He's also on the Kern Council of Governments Technical Transportation Technical Advisory Commission. And he's been on there for 20 some years now. So Tehachapi has had a role, even though this is not a City of Tehachapi project. This is a Caltrans project. And this, the City of Tehachapi is the entity that has kept this in the forefront locally and at Kern Council of Governments and in the region. So even though this is not our project, we've kept the focus on it to this point today where we are. Thank you very much. And I'd like to introduce Senator Shannon Grove.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for being here on this great day to celebrate. It truly is a day of celebration. $257 million granted to the County of Kern in order to facilitate this project for a vital east-west corridor on Highway 58 that's a transportation corridor and a supply chain corridor, and it's vital. And I want to thank the City of Tehachapi for keeping this in the forefront. I've just been involved for a short period of time compared to the time that Phil Smith has put in on this project, and Ahron Hakimi. Greg Garrett brought me into this project, and I want to thank him for including me in this to get it over the top. I want to thank all the local leaders that participated in this over the years, the pitfalls that were encountered, and they just kept overcoming. I want to say a special thank you to Caltrans Director Tony Tavares, who I'm going to mention again later. And I want to thank Ahron Hakimi and Greg and Garrett and those people that got involved in that Zoom call. When I heard the frustrations and everything that was going on, I called Director Tavares, asked if he'd do a Zoom call, explain the problems. And I think they really successfully portrayed what the issue was. It's not a City of Tehachapi issue. This is a California statewide issue, specifically for transportation and specifically for supply chain issues across the east-west corridor of 58. I want to thank Ahron Hakimi. I've never worked with Ahron before, but he is a class act. He immediately got the Caltrans director everything that they needed. We got a commitment that they were going to push the project forward to CTC. We got it in writing, and then when it went to CTC, I have to specifically thank Carl Garadino and also the former director, Hillary Norton. They were our champions at the CTC to make sure that the vote was successful. And again, everybody here that participated in it. I do want to go back to the director of Caltrans. Totally a God timing issue when Greg called me. I was actually in a Rules Confirmation Committee hearing and meeting with the Caltrans director. He's from the Central Valley. He understood the situation that we were in, and he gave us his assurances that he would follow through and make sure that these resources came to Kern County. And today he followed through with that, and it was 20 years in the making, but today that promise was fulfilled. Actually, last Thursday, that promise was fulfilled, and today we're celebrating $257 million coming to Kern County. And it wouldn't have happened without Greg, the Tehachapi team, Phil Smith, and specifically Ahron Hakimi, who made all the wheels in place to make sure that they had all the data that they needed, because the volume of paperwork that a government needs to make something be successful is just horrendous. And Ahron Hakimi is responsible for that. And that's why I'd like to make sure that he comes to the podium next to make sure that he has an opportunity to tell you everything that's been invested in this project.
Thank you, Senator Grove, fellow Army veteran, Senator Grove. I appreciate all the accolades, but I work for a board. For those of you that are not familiar, Kern Council of Governments is made up of an elected official from each of the 11 cities in Kern County and 2 members of the Board of Supervisors. So I work for a board of 13 elected officials. I want to publicly thank all of them. Some of them are here today, for making the decision in early 2001 to invest $5 million of, I'll call it COVID money that we got from the federal government, one of the last things President Trump did. And we gave that money to Caltrans to do an environmental document for this project. Caltrans delivered that project ahead of schedule and under budget. We would not be here today if it was not for the wise decision of the Kern Cog Board in early 2001. I want to reiterate a few names that we've touched on in the last few minutes. My entire board, Senator Grove, is being really modest about her involvement in this process. We would not have gotten this money without Senator Grove talking directly to the head of Caltrans. Also, the chairwoman of the CTC, Leanne Eager, the CTC executive director, who I've known for well over a decade, Tanisha Taylor, and many Caltrans employees who contributed to this. What we need to do now is hold Caltrans' feet to the fire, make sure they deliver this project on schedule and under budget, because they have a reputation for not doing it. With that, I will turn it over to Jay, and thank you all, everyone who's given me the credit, but I couldn't do it without the elected officials who I work for. Jay?
Thank you, Aaron. My name is Jay Schlosser. I'm the Development Services Director for the City of Tehachapi. I've also been the city engineer for about 20 years now. And I've driven this route. I commuted it for years, or I did the commute up from Bakersfield for years. And so I've seen the changing nature of the traffic on this road. And so if you ask yourself the question, what does it take to make major regional improvements that affect not only local traffic, but interstate traffic? And the answer is all the people that are here is how you deliver projects like this. Obviously, first and foremost, you need political leadership that has the vision and understands the need, both the economy of it and the safety of it, which is a major component of this project, are the safety improvements for the commuters and the truck drivers that utilize this route, that make their money, that live their lives. In the city of Tehachapi, about 64% of the community commutes out every day. About half to the Bakersfield area and half to the Lancaster area. So these are our citizens that utilize this route every single day. And the second highest truck route in the state of California deserves the funds that it needs in order to support the California economy, but also the safety of the folks that drive on it. So what's left? All the work. Now, how do you spend $250 million? Well, you know, how do you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time is my answer to that question. So over the next couple of years, Caltrans is focusing on designing the project, figuring out how to manage the traffic while you construct it. My role is pretty small. I'm just going to be paying attention to Caltrans this whole time for the sake of the city of Tehachapi, trying to keep them on schedule. Their tentative schedule is to complete the design and be ready to list this project in late 2025. Hopefully with a spring start of construction in 2026. To Aaron's point, we're going to be pushing hard to see them deliver on that date, because every day that it takes us longer is a day where motorists are subjected to sometimes dangerous conditions. And so we are eager to see them finish this project. So I'll echo the thank yous that were passed out to all the folks that were involved in the project, and to Caltrans District 9 for pushing this forward. Together, we now have $257 million specifically to construct or reconstruct about 11 miles of Highway 58, and then also to construct 3.5 miles of truck climbing lane. And I can give you guys the details on those limits if you're interested. But thank you all for attending. Thank you for considering this issue, and we're excited to see it happen. So, Key, I'll turn it back to you.
Excellent. I also want to Marisol Goni is representing Assemblyman Vince Fong. He was also a very big supporter of the city of Tehachapi. Marisol, sorry I missed you in the first introductions. We're happy to open things up for questions. We've got our panel of experts here, and also we've got additional resources. So do we have any questions from our media representatives?
I would have one question, which is how do you continue to hold their feet to the fire over the course of 3 years? I know that that's a long period of time, and maybe changes can happen in elected officials in that period of time and people in Caltrans. How do you keep their feet to the fire, as you were saying?
So the question for those that are listening on the live stream is, how do we hold the feet to the fire in Caltrans over this next 3 years? Who'd like to field that? Senator Grove, would you
Want me to take
Jay?
first?
Absolutely. I'm going to repeat the questions for the live stream audience.
I think it's multiple factors. One is relationship. We've worked hard in the city of Tehachapi to build a relationship with Caltrans District 9 out of Bishop. I know the engineers personally who are designing this project, and I know the engineers that lead it. I think that I would also say that Ahron probably, and Kern COG has an important step, that Kern Council of Governments voted to contribute $3.5 million to deliver the environmental document that cleared the way for this funding to occur. And so those were funds that came to Kern County, and that Kern County had the discretion to spend as they pleased, and so they spent it. The COG boards voted to spend it on this route, and so now we have a vested interest in seeing them deliver. And then obviously, if we see it falling behind, that's when we're going to speak to our political leadership about talking to Caltrans. So Caltrans, the dates I gave you are the dates Caltrans gave us for the delivery of the project. So our goal is regular contact to make sure that we're hitting those milestones. And I'll tell you, pre-COVID, I used to drive up to Bishop a couple of times a year, which is about a 4-hour drive for even Tehachapi, but just to meet with them and talk about their projects and our projects, and so we're going to continue to do that.